we have to understand the next topic of this particular unit, that is national income and related aggregates. Before moving on to the aggregate and what national income is all about, we first have to understand certain important terms which are associated with the national income. The most important term is economic territory. Okay, for understanding the meaning of economic territory, we have to first understand what is the difference between calling India as a country and calling India as an economy. See, when we are studying geography, we use the word country, right? When we study economics, we use the word economy. Some of you might say that these are the synonyms. You can say India is a country and you can say India is an economy. There is no difference. But there is certain difference between the two terms. If you say India is a country, you are bound by the political boundaries. Right? Means India extends to a certain level or to certain boundaries. That is the map of the India. Its territory is not beyond that. Its ruling is not beyond that. But if you say India is an economy, you must have heard India launched the Mars orbiter mission, right? A probe which has been sent to Mars. So it is operating at Mars, it is running on the surface of Mars, but it belongs to Indian territory or Indian economic territory. So this is the basic difference. With the name of country, it is restricted to political frontiers, political boundaries, but with the term economy, it is not, you can say, restricted to the political frontiers. So if you talk about the territories, this country or within the political frontier, it is known as the domestic territory. Right? Means if you say India is a country, you are only in economic term, it is known as the domestic territory, where you are covering only the areas which are within your political frontiers. But if you say economy, then you are actually referring to the national territory. Means in economics you will call it national territory or simply economic territory. Right? This basic difference you have to remember. Now I'm making it little more easier for you to understand. Suppose you say that this is the map of India, this is politically the map of India, and say this somewhere, this is Australia, right? So an Indian company, say Tata, having its plant in Australia, a manufacturing plant in Australia, right? Similarly, an Australian company, say Hungry Jacks, having its restaurant in India. Though the production plant of Tata is lying in the domestic territory of Australia, but its profit will be transferred to the head office in India, so it will always be under the economic territory of India. Similarly, the restaurant of Australian food chain Hungry Jack is lying in the domestic territory of India, but its profit will again be transferred to the head office in Australia, so it is economically part of Australia. Like all the embassies, they are part of the economic territory because the salaries of the Indian ambassadors are being sent by India. Now these embassies may be in Australia, maybe in USA, maybe in some other countries. Similarly, all the embassies of foreign countries which are situated in India, they are in the domestic territory of India, but they are economically the part of some other country. Similarly, all the aircrafts which are belonging to India, maybe they are landing and they are being stationed at some other part of the world, but they still remain as economic territory of India. Okay, so if you have to define the economic territory, you will define it as a political area or any area over which a government or a state has exclusive rights and Jurisdiction. Okay, so economic territory is defined as a area over which a state or a government has or a economy has exclusive rights and jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means that the judgment can be made by the government of that particular territory. Exclusive right means that none other country has any other right to occupy that area or use any resource from that particular area until and unless permitted by the same economic territory, right? You can simply say that any aircraft, say belonging to, say Australia, forget about landing, it cannot even fly over India without the permission of the Indian authorities, right? The airspace also belongs to the economic territory. Similarly, if you talk about the sea waters, so 15 nautical miles they belong to the, or you can simply say 15 miles from the shore of my country belong to me in the sea. After 15 miles it is considered as international waters. Any ship can move into the international waters, but if it has to enter my economic territory or say 15 nautical miles within my territory, then it has to seek permission from my authorities. So you have to just remember these concepts, what economic territory means. Again I am repeating the definition. It is the area over which a state or a government has exclusive rights and jurisdiction. It includes not only the land area but the airspace, all the your 15 nautical mile sea waters, all the embassies of the country held in some other being situated in some other country, all the aircraft, all the sea vessels, all the rigs belonging to the particular country. Even I gave you the example of Mars orbiter mission. So even the satellites, suppose Russia has launched a satellite, so it will remain Russian territory only. Then the second important term which we often use here is the normal resident. Normal resident is defined as a person or an institution or an organization whose okay, just look at these words: a person, an institution or an organization. Okay, not necessarily a person, it may be some organization or some institution whose economic center or center of economic interest, we can better write it as center of economic interest, lies in the country where he lives. Center of economic interest means earning, spending, and saving. It means any person who is or an institution which is residing in my country and earning, spending and saving in the same country or in the same economic territory will be referred to as normal resident of an economy. Example, any NRI, suppose any person, any citizen of India living in USA, working in USA, earning, spending everything in USA, he will be known as the normal resident of USA and a non-resident Indian. It means from the citizenship he is an Indian, his ID belongs to India, but he is not the resident of India. Similarly, the people from other countries can live and reside in our country. Again, they are the part of they are the normal residents of our country, but they may be citizens of some other country. So this is another important concept which you always have to keep in mind. Who is a normal resident? Once again I am repeating, a person or institution or an organization whose center of economic interest lies in the country where he resides or lives. It means a tourist cannot be considered as a resident, because he has come, suppose some tourist has come from say Australia to visit India, cannot be called as resident of India, right? Because his center of economic interest is not lying in India. He has come only here to spend and enjoy, not to earn and save. Then another important term that we'll come across is NFIA, that is net factor income from abroad. NFIA pronounced as the net factor income from abroad. This is just see the word from abroad, means from rest of the world. Again, just take an example like the same example which we took. Say this is India, this is Australia, and Tata working in Australia and Hungry Jacks working in India. Say Tata earns from the Australian economy, it is able to earn 500 rupees as the profit, while Hungry Jacks has been able to earn 400 rupees as profit from the Indian economy. So this will be called as factor income from abroad. Means any non-resident Indian or earning income from the economic territory of some foreign country, that is the income earned from abroad. Similarly, this will be called as the factor income to abroad. It means any citizen who has earned the income from my economic territory and belonging to a foreign